We locked in. Shout it out to everybody out there that's tuned in, or everybody who will be tuned in. I'm your host, Moshe Canty. I'm here with the sister Nate Sean Clay. But before we even get to that, we got a bunch of stuff we got to say. What's up, sis?
So
What's going on? How you doing?
I'm just chilling, just vibing.
Yeah, before I get to the formalities, man, we got a bunch of things that we need to touch on, man. This is a powerful sister that's here. I mean, the other day we had the sister Jay Renee, who is the host of her podcast, Prison Rite Radio. And like I always say, man, we give our voices, we lend a lot of voices to the men here in this space. YouTube seems to just be dominated by a bunch of men, but very, very rarely do we hear our sisters speak. And our sisters, they have a lot to speak about. Their voices are profound. And we need to give them the opportunity to express themselves and listen to what it is that they have to say. Because if not, then we do all of ourselves a disservice. So again, I want to thank you for coming on. We locked in, sis, and I'm glad to have you here.
Thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So the crazy thing is that, so it's crazy that we come by a mutual acquaintance. In this case, my niece.
Yeah.
Right. So it's funny because it wasn't like she kind of introduced us in a formal way. It was an informal type of situation where it was,
Yeah.
kind of like, she's watching the show and then she says to me, "Oh, I have one of my peoples who I actually asked that she subscribed to your channel, and can you subscribe to her channel as well?" And then she sent me your name, right? So I said, "All right, I will. I'll definitely get an opportunity to do it." But then that same night, I looked on the went on YouTube, and I had an opportunity to finally look through some of your stuff, and I was like, "Oh, hold on, this is powerful stuff here." I said, "This sister has a voice. She got a lot that she's talking about." I said, "Oh, no, we definitely need to, talk." This is my brother Mikey B right here. Oh, Mikey B, what up, man?
Oh, I seen him last time. I'm handsome.
How you doing? How you doing, sis?
I'm pretty good. I'm just chilling.
I would just explain to Mikey. I was just telling sis that how she and I we became acquainted through my niece, and it was just like in an informal way of linking up with her. So I told her I had an opportunity of looking at her page, and the night that I looked at her page, I was like, "Yo, the sister got something to talk about," and she has a unique way of highlighting some of the most profound issues that are impacting her community out there in Indianapolis. But before we get to where she's from and things like that,
I can't wait to hear
um,
a story. I'm a fan, bro. You heard? I just can't wait to hear a story. You know what I'm saying?
oh no, the sisters.
Appreciate it.
The sister's amazing. She's beautiful, and we're gonna have the opportunity to kind of go back and forth where she can pose her questions to me, and I can pose my questions to her. We got a whole bunch of things we plan on covering. But if you're just pulling up, man, please hit that like button. Please hit the subscribe button. Or share with those individuals who you may have influence over. We have the sister in here, Nate Clay, from out of the Midwest. This is
Yeah.
a breath of fresh air. For the last couple of days, we've been having to go hard on individuals who've been on this channel just freestyling. So we gonna switch gears up a little bit, and just talk to the young sister, man, because she's a voice in our community that is not often heard, especially for those of us out here on the East Coast. We probably listen and tap into a different demographic, a different type of sound. But we want to give not only this sister a platform, but we want to, come into her world, because what she's experiencing out there in the Midwest is just as significant, if not more important, than what we're going through where we're at on the East Coast. So, before we get going, sis, so first of all, let's hear a little bit about yourself, and let us know where you're from, sis.
All right, I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana, 42nd and Post Road. I grew up in some townhouses or condos called Town and Terrace condominiums, but they wasn't condos when I was growing up, and it was just the projects. I grew up in a gang-like system. Vice lords, gangster disciples in my community. Crack cocaine was at my front porch. Most everybody around me was selling crack cocaine, so it was just my environment. Yeah, I never really, as a kid, I didn't even go experience the world. All I knew was just post road. So that's my background where I come from. I come from a broken family system. So yeah, typical stuff.
Yeah, yeah, and when you say that, I hear that. So for those of us, and just for the record, when we hear a lot of that stuff, we have in our mindset. If those of us who've never been out there in the Midwest, those of us over here have this warped perception of what that means over there where you're at, right? We hear
Yeah.
broken home. Yeah, we know what that means. We hear crack, cocaine. We know what that is. But then we also hear vice lords, and then we hear gangster disciples and stuff like that. And for those of us over here, just recently, this is like foreign to us, because we didn't grow up like that over here on the East Coast. Like those of us, we kind of had a whole different vibe growing up. Not saying that there wasn't street gangs. I'm not gonna go there and say that. We had crews like the Low Lives, we had the Decepticons, but it wasn't like this is what the culture was, right? There were crews, but they were not really crews whose names, um, it was this affiliation with like this big nation type of thing. Like, when you go out to the Midwest, you got like your folk nation and the people's nation.
Yeah.
It wasn't that type of vibe out here. It was totally, totally different. Now it has like literally like turned into like wildfire. In the streets of Brooklyn, I think you and I spoke about this earlier, where literally it's like just Bloods, Crips, Gangster Disciples. It's crazy, right? It's crazy out here. You dig what I'm saying? So it's just a whole bunch of stuff. You know what I'm saying? But when you spoke about the neighborhood you grew up in, or whatever the case may be, like that, was there like I'm sure that there was a lot of violence and stuff like that.
I mean, when I was growing up, it was more of a family type of system. So a lot of people wouldn't say it was they would say it's a family, not a gang. But if you're on the outside looking in, you get like, and you understand, you outgrow, you will see that it was really built off a gang, but it was considered a family. So growing up on Brentwood on Post Road, it wasn't really as much violence as it is now, because we grew up on a certain system. Like if you wasn't from out there, you couldn't come out there. It was just like more older people. So I feel like it was more structured. But I wouldn't try to, I'm not trying to praise it, but it it was just more structured in a way, but it fell apart.
When you say structure, are you talking about structure from the gang standpoint, where the community itself was kind of like being led by most of individuals who were involved in the gang life, and these are the individuals who sort of like determine what the structure of the community would look like? Is that what you're making reference to?
I would say it was more of a family. Like when I say a family, it was like my whole family grew up out there on Brentwood, everywhere on Brentwood. Most of my family lived there. So everybody in the community who grew up on Post Road, we were like a family. So since we saw each other as a family, we stuck together in a way. But it's not like that anymore. So it's like different.
Yeah, the crazy thing was that, so growing up, I'm 44. I'll be 45 in September. But growing up back in the days, I think all of our communities had that family, at
Yeah.
least in the Black community, right? You know what I mean? When we were a lot younger, there seemed to be a more
Whole
emphasis
different
on,
vibe.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was different. It was just totally different. It was
Neighbors were
like
different. It was neighborly.
neighborly.
Everybody knew each other on the whole streets.
Everybody knew
Yeah.
each other.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
different though. It was just like, when you look at it now, it's like there's still people who are in the neighborhood who but the emphasis is not really on the fact that we're like really community. Like that's not really there anymore. So I
Yeah.
hear you talk
Agree.
about that. In terms of your family, I know you said that you come from a dysfunctional family. When you say dysfunctional, are you just talking about like a single parent home? Are you talking about being raised by grandparents? Are you talking about a home where there was drugs and stuff like that that contributed to its dysfunction? Are you talking about on that level?
Yeah, I'm talking. I like. Yeah, I grew up. I was raised by my grandma. My mama was in the picture, but I think she said my grandma took me away when I was a kid. My daddy wasn't there. He didn't want to be there. So my grandma was an alcoholic. It was a bunch of narcissistic cycles, broken, abusive. The women would get into abusive relationships with men. It was all types of abuse, from physical, from verbal, from all. Yeah, it was so many like different like issues in my household growing up.
How did that impact like your way of thinking and the way that you responded to your witnessing some of that stuff? Like what was your psychological and emotional development? Like, what did it retard your development?
I don't really know. I growing up, I got real quiet, so I got real nonchalant too. So nothing could really like bother me in a way. So I was like the loner. So I ended up becoming like the scapegoat because I started to see through things. So I can't really explain it, but it did mess with my mental. But I just became very just quiet.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. So when I grew up, I didn't really. I was raised in like a early on. It was both my parents that they were there, but it was like after my father left early on. Um, he ended up getting with my bonus mother, who thankfully I was able to get my younger brother and my younger sister and stuff like that from. Excuse me. My mother raised us as in a single. My sister and I in a single home in East New York, Brooklyn. But it seems like for me, and I always ask that question to people, how were you impacted? Because for me, it seems like when my father left, I now began to look for a male presence in my life, and
Okay,
even
yeah,
if it was from my peers or anybody for that matter, I just wanted to be like validated and accepted from individuals around me because I wasn't getting that from my father, at least when he wasn't in my home. So when people say to me that they were coming from dysfunctional homes like yourself, I don't know what that means, right? And I try to imagine what I went through and how I was impacted versus somebody who was impacted in that type of environment, and what that could have contributed to adversely for them. So to hear you say that it kind of puts you into a shell is profound because it speaks to how important the family structure is in our communities. If it's dysfunctional, if it's you're being raised in single family homes, the likelihood exists that you will not have that structure that's important. And if you do get the structure, you might have to get it from other sources and stuff like that. So let's talk a little bit about the community and stuff like that. I know you mentioned the gang subculture, and again, like on the East Coast, we got a total different vibe. Like sis,
yeah.
you would be surprised to see. Again, we're not talking about now what's happening now. Growing up back in the 80s, there was like literally no gangs. I mean, there were crews who, like I said, running around rampant, low lives, decepts, whatever, face heads and stuff. But there were no like known gangs, no territorial gangs. How does that look to you guys out there? Like, is it territorial, like where you're at? Is that a known vice lord gang back then? Is it a known disciple community? Like, what does that look like out there?
It's kind of weird because it was Vice Lords and Gangster Disciples in my neighborhood, but it wasn't. We wasn't really like following Vice Lords and Gangster Disciple. It was just neighborhoods. So it was more territorial, but it was all just about neighborhood. It wasn't really the colors, the red and blue really didn't direct or anything. It was just you from this neighborhood or they from that neighborhood, and the neighborhoods would be for other neighborhoods. It wasn't color versus color or vice versa versus gang.
So were the vice lords and the disciples beefing in your hood with each other, or they were like still kind of family oriented because they were all from the same hood, the neighborhood, but they just happened to be a part of different gangs themselves?
Yeah, they we was it, like in my neighborhood, they was like a family, so they didn't beef. If you was a GD or if you was a vice lord, if you but you from the same neighborhood, it wasn't no issue or anything like that.
Wow, that's
Yeah, it's
interesting.
crazy.
No, see, that's I mean, you would think that because a lot of us get our understanding of vice lord and disciple from Chicago,
Yeah,
our lack of understanding of what we think we have knowledge of, which comes from Chicago, right? What I'm saying, Mikey, the little bit of information we do have historically, right? I mean, because obviously we don't live out there, but my niece, who make sure used to actually live out there. So her
yeah, she told me.
brother, my brother, her father, they actually lived out there. So they had a presence in the community. So they are very much aware of exactly what takes place on a daily basis out there. So I think our perception of the vice lords and the disciples is based on that culture. So anywhere else, we can't even imagine, we can't even fathom in our minds that you guys are living in the same neighborhood and that there's no wars going on. So
Yeah.
what started the beef? Like what triggered the wars in your community with? Because I know in some of your articles you mentioned that you lost a significant amount of your childhood friends. Speak to that.
Yeah.
Speak to, all of this, like the violence in your community, how many childhood friends you lost, what may have spurned all this stuff from going on. Talk about some of that.
I mean, from how I view it, I feel like at the end of I lost over 10 friends. Probably 5 of them, 6 of them was close to me, and most of them was killed by the same neighborhood they claimed. So I just look at it as a way like it was just built off of a foundation that's now exposing itself. So it was never a firm foundation. It's no loyalty, it's no it's no love in the streets, and eventually it was. I feel like it was just an image. I don't know. It just wasn't a firm structure, so it's falling apart. So, and I feel like I don't know what happened. I can't really say why people were killed. I really don't know. I can't even speak on that. But I feel like it's no love. It's no structure. I don't know. It's just not real. The
Do you
drugs.
do
I
you
don't know.
consider yourself to be like a community journalist, like an independent journalist that's reporting on the conditions of your community, no matter what those incidences or circumstances may be? Because I see on one instance you might speak about black on black violence. You might speak on individuals who glorify going to prison, and then you might speak about dilapidated homes that are in your community. So do you see yourself as being like this independent journalist who has to speak for the interests, in our community?
Honestly, I just started because I was fighting for my neighborhood. It all started for me trying to fight for Post Road because they were trying to knock Brentwood down. They knocked some apartments down that was next to Brentwood called Oak Tree, and I felt like they were trying to push us out for a more wealthy family. So that's when I actually started to fight. So I was trying to become a voice for my community to show like my city that I'm in, that they can't really just always judge us by our images. So that's why I pushed out my personal book and start to expose everything so people could understand why I had that street image and why I did the things that I did or acted the way that I acted. In order for them to see a different image or a different picture of us, because in the ghetto, especially in my community, they glorify the street image. Like people in my neighborhood literally want people to look at them as this street gangster image. So they would do certain things or put certain images over Brentwood to make others believe it's like that. So others can look at them that way. But it's not really like that in Brentwood. So it's like
Well, you raise a valid point, sis. I'm gonna be honest with you. So we do the same thing out here in the East Coast. I'm from an area in Brooklyn. I'm not sure if you've heard of it before. Maybe you have. I think I stated it already. I'm from East New York, Brooklyn. You know, this is an area and my brother Mikey B, he's from Queens, right? He's from Southside Jamaica, Queens, right? They they have so many, it's so much going on. Everybody wants their neighborhood to be known as the neighborhood that gets busy, right? We want the clout, and believe it or not, this clout chasing thing is probably not a new phenomenon. Is something that has probably existed for a very long time, because we sought clout ourselves when we were a lot younger, right? We did it a different way. I wanted my neighborhood to be known as the neighborhood that, you know, and as ignorant as this may sound, when East New York was like literally murder capital, we prided ourselves that people died at a rapid rate, right? It was just, yeah, you come over here, you're gonna die, and that was the mentality. And I saw something you posted, I think, on one of your IG pages. I think you mentioned something to the extent of, why is it that we glorify like going to prison versus going to college? This is something we
yeah,
glorify, and that was not the things that we were taught in our community. And I just think that it's really important for us to understand, like, why is it that we're glorifying violence and the killing of each other over and over again? Why is it that it seems to be a badge of honor that so many black and brown bodies are going to prison, and we're all right with that? It's like, yo, yeah, son just came home, he just did a bid, he's all right. Mikey B just did a bid, he came home, he looked good, he got his weight up, he did a couple of push-ups, that's the homie, he didn't tell, he a G, he all that, and then he come back to the same hood, kill some more people, and go back to jail again. And it's like, it's the same destructive, foolish cycle that exists in all of our communities across the country. So I like the fact that you highlight these issues and you don't shy away from mentioning them. So what is why is it there? I asked the sister the other day, like, why do you have this desire in your heart to want to kind of speak about these issues here?
Why? It's all started because where I came from. I just wanted once I lost my friend Lavorne. He got killed in 2020. He got killed in the same neighborhood. He was another individual. He got killed in the same neighborhood he claimed. I just got tired of waking up seeing these same old cycles, these same old issues in my own community. So I had to learn from when I got into the church. A lady named Sister Mathis, she said, I have to be the change that I want to see. So I learned that it had to start with myself and it had to start with my own form of thinking, even if people in my neighborhood hated me, because I was threatened 2 times to be killed because they hated what I was doing. But I feel like when you really want to change something, you ain't gonna be afraid to die, and I let them know that, So if y'all gonna kill me, at least I'm dying on what I stand for.
Wow.
So,
Listen,
how old are you now?
I'm 26.
Oh man. Y'all tune in to We Locked In. I'm here with my co-host Mikey B and the young sister Sean Clay from out of Indianapolis, Indiana. The sister is just speaking about her upbringing at the moment, and she's talking about a lot of issues here. I mean, she's speaking about obviously, her coming from a background of from a dysfunctional home, and that how that to some extent impacted her her interaction with her neighborhood and the streets and things of that nature, and her also feeling the need to want to become a change in her community. So we're having this conversation with the sister because like I always say, we speak. The men are always talking. The men have a lot to say, and perhaps this is why the world is messed up the way it is, because we don't have our women talking enough. Right? We don't have them. We're not giving them a platforms and stuff like that. So the sister has her own YouTube channel. It's under her same name, Sean Clay. So I would advise everybody out there to please tap in and to subscribe to her channel. She has a lot of great content. I've been on the channel and the sister is talking about some very pertinent topics. And she is on the front lines. The other day the sister Jay Renee came up here and she's doing the same thing. It's amazing that we can see our sisters who are out there doing some great work. So what's this thing about? I'm seeing some articles that you were in. You on the news, and it's like you got newspaper articles about you, sis. Like they want to hear what you have to say out there in Indianapolis. So give us a little bit of backdrop regarding what spurned their wanting to have do a expose or on you on the news channels and all that out there in Indianapolis.
The first time I got on the news was the second time. Both times was because actually all 3 times I believe was because of my church. My church is actually in the community that I grew up in. When I was growing up, I didn't even know it was a church. So and then the articles, actually I reached out to get a bigger voice in order to like share my ideas on just different things I believe that can change the communities, like the city right now. They're trying to change my community, but they don't know how to start. They don't really know what to do. So I'm just trying to get my voice out there and open up doors to let them know like I have ideas. That's what I feel like can help, just different things like that. So that's where it came from.
Wow, that's amazing. I look at you and I'm very, I'm proud. I'm proud of the fact that, you're on the front lines and you're trying to become an agent for change within your community. And I think about myself at 26 years old, and I was incarcerated, and I felt like at that age, I felt like I let not only myself down, my mother, my parents in this regard, people in my community who had played such an instrumental role in my upbringing. But when I see you, man, it just goes to show how more advanced you are at your age than I was at mine.
Thank you.
I didn't
Appreciate it.
want, and I'm being honest with you. I mean, I was conscious, I was aware. I did want to change the conditions of our people. I just was not in the streets to be able to do so. And I'm not saying I don't know if I would have had the opportunity to do so if I was in the streets, but just being incarcerated kind of like prevented us from being able to contribute to the way that we may have envisioned to do. So to see you're out here doing that now, is such a great accomplishment that this is really, really big. I see that you you mentioned the the device laws and the gangster disciple lifestyle itself. Were you ever like, you know, involved yourself in much?
Uh, yeah, when I turned 11, but when I was like younger, I was praised for wearing. Like I was walking in some place, with some places in my neighborhood, it's a different apartments. My neighborhood is just filled with apartment complexes. So when I was walking in a apartments called Some Place, I had on red pants, and I remember an older person literally walked past me and literally praised me for wearing red pants, and I was only just wearing red pants. I wasn't picking no side, and I was praised for that stuff. So eventually at 11, just being a product of my environment, I became a vice lord and started honoring
11.
that. Yeah, at 11. That's when I started to really like hang out with the wrong crowd and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, that's an important. I'm we're seeing that now. Mikey B and I being in the communities that, you know, he's currently, although he's from Queens and stuff like that, as I mentioned, he's currently right now in Syracuse, and he's seeing a lot of younger individuals who are 10, 11, 12, 13-year old who are already a part of the gangs. And when I'm at in Brooklyn, in East New York and Brownsville and Flatbush and Canarsie, I'm seeing the same thing. It wasn't like that years ago. So I'm amazed at how, I don't know. Well, let me just say this. I'm responsible, whether directly or indirectly, for contributing to a gang subculture that has led to 10, 11, and 12 and 13-year-old kids being in our communities, joining
Yeah.
gangs. And if I would have told you that when I was younger, that my actions would have indirectly contributed to this, I would have probably told you you're either crazy. And if I knew it would have had this impact where our people would be adversely affected by it, I probably wouldn't have want to be involved in it. Because what we see now happening is like really, it's really impacting our communities to the point where it's like we're going backwards. And I don't know how
Yeah.
long it's going to take for us to kind of get back to
It's,
that point. I don't know where we're going to be able to get back to that point where we're going to make the changes that we know are needed to made. But um I'm blown away by that. So how long were you actively involved from the age of 11?
How did
Um
she get initiated? How did you get into the gang?
yeah,
How did you get
it's
into it?
thank
just
you, man.
it was just the neighborhood. If you're born into it, you're a part of it. So it wasn't like no jumping in or anything like that. So if you're born into a neighborhood, you're already a part of that. So all you gotta do is just claim what side you want to be on. You know, because it was just a
I know what
neighborhood
you're talking about.
thing.
I understand. I understand. It
Yeah,
was like that. It was like that around my way. You had basic
yeah,
neighborhood gangs. You had that type of stuff around my neighborhood too. You was certain blocks automatically was down. If you was in the streets, if you wanted to play the streets, automatically you was in them gangs. You was a part of that. You
yeah.
know, there was no initiation rights. It was that's more unorganized, loose fitting gangs.
Yeah, yeah.
But go ahead, keep going, man. It's great.
Nah, nah, nah. And thank you for that. Thank you for that, because that was actually a great question. I was just gonna kind of follow that up with
But that's the difference between organized and unorganized gangs in these communities. The gangs that me and Moshe was a part of, and in prison was more organized.
So the more organized is the one that you have to like get put in
I
basically.
mean, it was a lot more organized. It was one of the most organized gangs in New York State, or the most organized gang in New York State. Um, but that's the differences. Just knowing these differences, we were a part of the structure, so we know in the streets and the differences. You know what I mean? But
Yeah,
that's more neighborhood block crews and gangs that you come out of these neighborhoods.
yeah.
how long were you from the age of 11? When did you get to the point where you said, all right, enough is enough, I'm not doing this anymore, this is just buffoonery, it's over?
Yeah, how long did
Uh,
it take to say enough is enough?
when I was 24, that's when I started to wake up.
13, that's 13 years. Well, you got out early. I'm glad to say, and thank you, because
Yeah,
that was arguably probably, I'm sure you're probably glad that you made that choice, because that was probably one of the best choices you made in your life. I'm sure of that.
yeah, it was. But I can say that I also had my mind made up a little bit when I was growing up. Because I already I used to play basketball. So I saw everything that was happening in my community, and a part of me didn't want what was happening in my community. So I hooped to make it out. I didn't know what was out there, but I knew it was something different than what my community was like pushing out. So me being able to step away at 24 was just a part of my mindset as a kid of I want more in life than it. So I played a role.
You know, I'm glad that you got out early. And because I stayed in for 18 years. Mikey stayed in longer than I did, and you know, I joined it when I was very young. I was a lot older than you, but I was 18 years old, and you know, I was a kid, right? You
Yeah,
know, we were teenagers. We were locked up, and we would just, you know, we made so many poor. It was just being young and so, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Not temperamental, impressionable. That, you know, but we were young, but we were dynamic, we were energetic, and we wanted to change our conditions for the better. But it was just that we just so happened to be a bunch of young people incarcerated, right?
yeah,
And I just look back and I think about how, you know, we looked at being in prison as a badge of honor, and how we may have inadvertently took these misplaced values back to our communities. Because when I went home, my first big, I was locked up in Baltimore, Maryland as a young individual. I remember all I did was work out when I came home, right? I mean, before I came home, when I came home real big, right? So I remember being in that position where it was just like I saw I saw the response that I got from the people in my neighborhood, and it was like, yeah, somebody put Top Shot. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and yes, I mean being a follower. Yeah, that's no question about that. You know, there's no doubt that being a follower, that's what it was. And I remember feeling that sense of pride. But for somebody like me who was already dealing with validation issues, because I connected that with, you know, I learned this later on with my absence, my father's absence. That meant a lot to me being young, like wanting to kind of like get all that attention. It was like, yo,
yeah.
you know, I just came home. You know, the shorties is like, yo, look at Mo. He, you know, I'm like, yeah, this is what I was looking for. You know what I mean? So, you know, you know what I'm saying? You know, we young and we just so impressionable, and we just don't really know how to put all of this stuff together. And it can kind of like warp your way of thinking a little bit. And then now when you add when you compound that with the gang lifestyle, I think that only creates, it makes it worse, because now you're doing stuff to get your name up in the gang, so it becomes like this form of peer pressure that you kind of agree to, right? If Mikey B
Yeah.
does something, it's like, oh, I want to be able to do something even more bigger than what he did, right?
It was dudes was on that time for a second. You're right. Dudes
It
was
is,
like,
right?
what?
Right. You like,
I'm
what he
gonna
did?
get
What?
free.
What he did? What? I'm gonna do it even better than him. Like, you know, so you know,
Wow.
it's kind of
No, we
crazy
was
like that.
animals. It was like it was really like
You know,
it
Yeah.
was bad. It was very bad.
it's very bad.
Very bad.
So
Very
I try to imagine in your neighborhood, did y'all have like the same set of values, like the
one
homies
up.
out there?
One
Like,
up each other.
yeah, did y'all try to one up each other? Like,
They say it in the music.
I ain't gonna lie. I don't think how like the structure that y'all talking about. Y'all structure is on a whole different level. So if y'all structure ever went face to face with our structure, our structure is nothing. So I don't think it was like that. But we would do stuff to get like certain respect in our community. Like
okay,
people who go to jail right now who've been selling drugs, they get a certain type of respect. Like they're honored in my community. Like when they die, we honor them. We throw up their first letter of their name and honor it because of what they did in the streets. So,
and
yeah.
you and I would imagine, and no disrespect, and again for the record, I'm not discrediting, invalidating, demeaning anyone who loses their life for any matter, but you believe that creating that culture where we are glorifying um the senselessness of that culture, you believe that it's foolish, is what you're saying,
Yeah.
that we're involved in that aspect of where we're glorifying prison and the lifestyle. Is that what I got from watching some of your videos and in your Instagram page and stuff like that?
Yeah, definitely. And like with my friends, it hurt when I think about my friends, but at the same time, I got older and realized that life is all about choices. So that was the pathway they wanted to take. So that was they knew what was gonna come with it. So I have to accept that's probably what. At the end of the day, that's what they wanted. Because if they didn't want that, they would have went another way. So I have to accept it.
Yeah, yo, yo, listen, man, that's deep right there. Y'all tune in to We Locked In. I'm your host, Moshe Canty. Please hit them likes button on your way in. There should be no reason why you're not. Do you got any questions you want to pose to us? Because you got, I know it's probably some things you might want to ask myself or maybe even Mikey B, and if there's anything we can probably try to clarify for you regarding your understanding or your lack of understanding, your awareness of becoming more aware about East Coast culture. I mean, is there anything you would like to know?
Yeah, I did have some questions, but one of them was why do y'all think we praise like going to jail and just different things like that? And also, I wanted to say that I do believe it. Like when you was bringing up how you was seeking validation from not having your dad, I do believe it starts in the household. So we go outside and seek it. So like, do y'all think it starts in the household, like from these issues?
Mm.
It depends on the household that you're coming from. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. I never wore prison as a badge of honor. I was just amazingly crazy and dumb. I had a lot of real talk. I know my life. You know what I mean? I have my
Yeah,
life under magnifying glass. To be who I am today and to be out here successful with a wife and doing good things for the people in my community,
yeah,
I had to make amends with my past and I had to deal with all these issues. But I'm saying I had serious anger issues. I had serious anger issues that came, you know what you said it too, it came from my household. But I didn't have people in my family that was in prison. I didn't even have people in my family that were in the streets actively, besides one of my uncles, which was like a knockout artist. He wasn't like a big time drug dealer or a shooter or anything like that. He wasn't a drug dealer, any of that, you know. But so I never really, glorified going to prison or coming home because none of my family was in that. I mean, I had some friends that was on that time, but we didn't really like some of the dudes in my neighborhood. You know, they came back from prison, was telling us about the Ford building and everything that was going on. But we never really glorified that because I came from my crew. My gang was like a money getting gang. You know what I'm saying? We
yeah,
was called GM family. You know, getting money, guns and money. We was getting money, so we ain't really glorified jail. Dudes wasn't on really no bozo time. We wasn't really on shooter time. We was on getting money. We was going OT. We had blocks. We was on money time. We was fly polo. You know, we was
yeah,
fly. We was guests. You know, we had everything, jewelry. So we was really on that time. You know what I'm saying? So I never really glorified it, but um, some of that, some of my violence came from my family in the household. Came from a military family. You know what I'm saying? My father was in the military, my uncles, my grandfather. So a lot of people don't know that, but I came from a military. The males in my family, almost all of them, were military. Um, so I came from a military family, and they heavy on that bottle, and they get busy. You know what I'm saying? So that was my thing. What about you, Moshe?
Now I'm gonna answer. I'm gonna answer her first question. Why
We
do we
glorify
think?
prison.
Yeah, why do we
Or
think that
glorifying coming
we
home.
glorify?
Never
I
really
I
glorify.
I really think, and that's a great question. Just for the record, Sean, I really appreciate that question because that's a very critical question to ask. I think we glorify it because, I mean, let's look at it as a collective situation for us as a Black community. And as young Black men who have had, in many instances, so much taken away from us as a community of generations of intergenerational neglect and systemic abuse and oppression and racism and all of these factors, dysfunctional
yeah,
homes and so on and so forth, all of this, right? I think it's very easy in that moment to try to convince yourself that you are not who you say you are or who you've been told that you are. And most of us from the communities that we came from didn't have an upbringing where we were told that we were somebody. So
Low
I think
self-esteem.
you know what I mean. I think the street life. I think the streets itself gave us our opportunity to create a false narrative about who we thought we were. So I could have just been Moshe in my house. But when I got out to the streets and I knocked your head off your shoulders, I was like, yo, you saw Moshe? I became a giant, right? Not to suggest I wasn't a giant in my home. Not to suggest these values were not being taught to us in our homes. It's just that for people who have had so much taken away from us, most of us were already dealing with issues of intergenerational neglect. So we needed to be validated. We needed to feel a way. We needed that. This is my perception of it. It's my theory. I could be totally off wrong. But I do believe that internally we were struggling as a people, and we are struggling as a people, and we're not getting it. To your second question, most of us are not getting those values in the home. And if we are, we still have a lot of issues that we need to address, because many of us came from cultural or homes where the history of our people was being taught. So why did individuals choose to go to the streets who knew about the culture of our people, knew about who we were as a people? I mean, look at individuals from Queens, where he's from. Preem and them. They had knowledge of self, right? Individuals knew, Preem and Prince and all of them. And these brothers had knowledge of themselves. They were part of the nation of gods and earth. So they knew about our culture as a people, our contributions to the world. But yet they still chose to kind of like make the decisions that they made, which ultimately led to countless lives being lost, whether through prison or through the streets. But I think it has a lot to do with the fact that we are just suffering as a people, and we're seeking validation as a collective group of people. So these are probably will be argued as the long-term effects of institutional neglect and racism.
Let me speak one more thing to that too, because really prison, just to give you some more insight into that, prison really gave, in certain impoverished communities, prison is a rite of passage for Black impoverished youths. It's a rite of passage.
What do you mean by that?
A rite of passage is something that you do to get to the next level in your culture, to be a man. Like bungee jumping came from rites of passage in Africa, right? A rite of passage is how you get to the next level of existence in a civilization, in your culture or in your tribe. It's called rites of passage.
It's like you level up in a way.
It's how you level up to become a man. Like they have fear things. You see, like, all right, you seen the movie 300?
No, but I know what it's about.
All right, with the Spartans, after they went through all their training, they had to go kill a wolf. It was a rite of passage. You see, like the Jungle Book, you got to go kill this or do that. That's called a rite of passage. When somebody has to fight or shoot or do anything to join a gang, that's a rite of passage.
Oh, okay, I get it now.
They got facial scars. Some African cultures, you ever see African people that got scars on their face, cuts?
Yes.
When they grow, that's a rite of passage. Mm-hmm. So in our communities, going to prison, shooting other Black men, these were all things that became a rite of passage. And it was heavy on the prison. When you came home, you got to remember, people that come home from our prison sometimes, or even back in the days, and even to today, they got big parties. You can come home from the war, you won't get nothing. You can go serve in Iraq or wherever, anywhere. Go to what they got. Where they at right now in Europe or Ukraine? You can be over there. You come back, one leg, they ain't gonna have nothing. They might have, yo, what's up? You back? Yeah. You come home from prison. They're gonna put the chain on your neck. They're gonna have you on live. Yo, we home. Free the peoples. So it did become a rite of passage, and it is glorified by some people. I'm not saying that I didn't glorify it, but I know in our communities, in urban enclaves as a whole, in the United States of America, prison became a rite of passage. You can see it in West Coast movies. Dudes just buff outside, coming home, brolic and all that stuff. All these, even in our movies, in our like Power. You see these dudes coming home as soon as 50 of them coming home out of jail. You know, they ready for them. They got, you taking over the block. And it's played out in these cultures. It's still being played out in our art as well. So it's a rite rite passage.
So why do you think that's a great question? But I mean, I'm sure the questioner has an answer herself. So why do you think? Why do you think that we glorify in our communities? What's your perspective on that?
From how I view it, I believe like how I was growing up, I was praised. So I growing up on Brentwood, I used to do bad stuff. Like I rode on somebody's car. He had a Monte Carlo with a permanent marker with cuss words on it. I didn't get in trouble, but people laughed at it and praised it. Like, and so growing up, I feel like it's because the people in the community, like nobody is praising the good kid. They always praise and honor the bad kid. Like to the point where I got so confused growing up to like I would do bad stuff and I would think my family would be happy because I was so brainwashed and conditioned to believe that they only would accept me and praise me when I did something bad. But when I would do something bad, like my mama would discipline me, and I would get so confused because I would think like I thought that she would be proud that I did something like bad instead of good. So I like how I view I believe comes from people in the community.
Do you?
Your environment. Go ahead, Mo.
No, I was gonna ask. So do you think that perhaps, with all due respect, you mentioned your household, your upbringing in your household. Do you think that contributed to you feeling validated when you did the acts that people glorified and praised you for?
Yes, because I like at times I had a red flag from Vice Lord. I was praised for that stuff. Like they was like happy. But like if I like recent stuff that I did was good, it was ignored by people that I expected to praise me in my community. Like they said nothing. They did not recognize or anything. So
Okay. Yeah, I'm listening to that, and I'm thinking about all of, because you're talking about 11-year-olds here, and in some instances, in some communities across the country, it's happening to youth who are even younger than that.
yeah.
I know you know of stories of individuals who were younger. What's the youngest person in your community or in any community where you're from, who became a part of a gang?
I think the youngest was 9 and he got locked up for murder. So
Wow,
yeah, in my community, yeah.
wow, wow. That's amazing. 9 years old in the gang, and he got locked up for murder.
Yeah, it's like in the neighborhood, like since it was so family orientated, he just got sucked in. He took into that form of thinking and he just started honoring it. He got locked up for murder.
That's one thing I won't do, and one thing Mikey B won't do, and KK. You haven't met KK. I don't know if he's going to come on tonight. We're not going to like not admit our roles and the contributions to the inadvertent contributions to the culture, because we can talk about the positive things that we did when we were part of our gang, but even the positive things that you do, it's so much negativity happening around you. Sometimes that kind of like overshadows the positivity in it, right? So
Yeah,
even if you're a part of it, you still are guilty by affiliation and by association.
yeah,
So I hear you say that, and I'm just saddened at the fact that um, you know, somebody just 9 years old who may not even know how to even do mathematics on that level, right? Or doesn't even know how to write well, is going to be locked up because he catches a homicide, right? Because of some senseless gang culture that we all were a part of. And the
yeah,
reason why I feel like this conversation is needed is because this is going to show the listeners out there, whoever they may be, whatever age group they may be associated with, that there is a problem in America. There are various problems in America, and the gang subculture is one of those problems. Now we can speak about the causes of these problems, like why these problems exist. But the fact of the matter is that these problems exist. They are here.
yeah.
And what are they going to do? What are we going to do as a people? You mentioned, I saw one of your pages, and I want to thank you. And just for the record, you guys, the other day I put up a live regarding Larry Hoover, him recently renouncing um, his membership and leadership within the gang, the Gangster Disciples. And I hope just so the record, I was not the one who originally posted that. I actually got that from Nashawn Clay, this young lady that's sitting here. Um, I saw her post, and I was like, wow, this is something that I need to expound upon as well. So, in spite of you being younger than I still feel like you have such a major voice in the community, and I felt everything you said on that video because I agree with everything you stated. And much of what you echoed, I actually echoed myself. So I want to ask you, in the vein of that, um, we can kind of have a discussion briefly regarding that as well. Um, what's your take on somebody of Larry Hoover's stature who founded a group and who is responsible, whether directly or indirectly, for countless crimes that may have been committed in our communities? Um, and now he says, I don't want to be associated with that anymore. What's your take on that itself, on that move itself?
I mean, I feel like he like just like you said that we still all played the part, so we got to be all held accountable. So I feel like he has to be held accountable for everything that's going on. But I believe stepping down. I looked at it as stepping down. It's like stepping away from the gang culture and stepping on it. But I also see it on the other side that he could still be a leader, but try to get out of prison and reprogram it and say, I'm not honoring what y'all putting out. This is what I represent. Because I learned that it was created as growth and development to help the Black community. Then it went left. So
A lot
I
of
look
stuff.
at it at two ways. Yeah, yeah. Always
Yeah,
goes.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. So the origins, we know back in
Oh, she
for
was a
those who
part
know.
of the gang that he created.
No,
No,
no, no, no, no. She was a part of the Vice Lords.
A rival gang.
But yes, a rival gang. Well, definitely in Chicago and like Milwaukee and stuff like that, and even in Indianapolis, a rival. She was a part of the main rival of the Gangster Disciples, um, who
Vice Lord.
in this case the Vice Lord. So, um, and they're found to being Willie Lloyd, but so with respects to that, sis, I hear you say that, and I think like, okay, that's important to feel that way, right? Because I feel like that. I do feel that he he created something, but it got out of control,
yeah,
and I think that once he realized it started getting out of control was when he wanted to create growth and development, and he started getting his hand more involved in politics and things of that nature. Um, but he has his stature has been to such extent that no matter what, this is KK, our other partner right here. Um, hey,
so
my brother, salam alaikum, my brother.
Walaikum
Um,
salam. Listen, I had to pull up for a minute. I couldn't stay, but I had to just give y'all my love and shout everything out. Like I'm in a meeting right now with some of the African brothers right now too. Yeah, the
okay,
spot, man.
You would have meeting with a stripper?
all right.
That's a strip club. You would have meeting with a stripper?
No, it's not, man. No, it's not, man.
All right. Well,
But
we look
and I didn't
we
get a chance to meet the sister. I
we
wanted to meet the sister though
we,
too.
we love you,
You
man.
know
We
what I
love
mean?
you, man.
Yeah, we
Hold
Well,
love
it,
you,
man.
bro.
Hold it down.
KK, this is the sister Nashawn Clay. Nashawn, this is our the third part of our team. This is KK here.
hey,
All
what's
right,
up?
Sean, how you feeling? What's up? What's
Pretty
good?
good.
Oh, you the one who did the GD article, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
Look,
GD,
thank
yeah,
y'all.
yeah.
Yeah, I
yeah,
did.
yeah, yeah. I definitely watched it, and congrats though, just on what you're doing. I admire and respect that, man. This is what we're here for, to actually support each other and build. And I'm glad you're actually promoting that. So hopefully with this, you coming on here, we actually build up things even more. You know what I'm
I
saying?
appreciate it. Yeah, thank you.
Hey, but they be playing music because over here it's gonna be loud, so I got to go.
All
Love
right.
y'all.
We
Bro,
love you,
we
bro.
love you,
We
bro.
locked
Peace,
in.
bro.
Far
Salam
feeling to
alaikum, my
you.
brother.
Nice done.
All right. So no, what I was saying was that I mean he had it probably I think got out of control for him. Um, and then now once it got out of control, it was just like, I mean, he was going to be blamed for stuff that he had no knowledge of. We saw that happen to individuals on this in the East Coast. We've seen people get blamed for stuff that they had no knowledge of. Um, but what is your take on the fact that because wait, before I ask you that question, I do believe that the government itself is going to give him a difficult time because of the power that he possesses.
Is he going into parole boards or what is he getting
Nah,
released on?
nah, he has 6 life sentences, right? So he has 6 life sentences, but I think they sentenced him like 150 to 200 years or something like that. And the problem with that is that it's really, from my knowledge, really over one case, but one homicide in this case. But they're just threatened by his very presence, Mikey. And the first letter that he wrote, it was denied, and he has since then. The only thing that has changed is the fact that in writing his subsequent letter to the federal judge is that he has renounced his membership within the gang.
So what is he looking for? Clemency? What is he looking for?
He's looking to be released. So what happens with the First Step Act, which was signed into law, is that it's not quote unquote clemency, so to speak. It's stating that no, old head Deuce. It's not. Is Deuce is not saying that he's not claiming political prisoner status. That's not what he's saying. He's saying that he's been in prison long enough. He accepts responsibility for his acts, for criminal acts that he may have been involved in.
You got to do that, or he never gonna let you out. You see what
never gonna let him out. And he's also saying that what the government is accusing him of, that he is in many respects not guilty of what they are accusing him of, right? So they're saying that as Larry Hoover, the head of this group, you are responsible for the creation of not only the group, but of any act that anybody has ever participated in, because you are that. They're not saying that in the body of it, but they're saying it in very covert language, that you're responsible for this, and you are responsible for black and brown bodies and crack and coke and murders and mayhem and destruction, and this is your doing, and this is why you shouldn't be let out. So that's what that's what it's about. It's not a parole board. It's not a clemency packet that he's putting together.
He's writing a letter to a judge just trying to get out.
He's just writing a letter to the judge seeking to be released.
Yo, let me tell you something. That's a hell of a long shot. Is he working in the community? Does he have nonprofit organizations? Is he doing stuff? Did he build stuff like Tukey did?
Bro, Larry Hoover does have the support in the community. The strange thing is that people who have aligned themselves with him have even themselves been accused of being associated with an individual who uses his influence to try to like get individuals to do his doing. So people even have to be careful to align themselves with him because they will be accused of engaging in criminal activities. That's how bad it is. So if I was to start a nonprofit and it just happens to be in his name or associated with him, then he would more than likely be accused of appointing me in that position. So they've created everything that he's involved in. They've criminalized 99% of it. Am I onto something? Am I saying everything correctly, Nashawn?
I think you know a little bit more than me. I'm listening and learning.
Yo, Moshe is a beast, you heard? I never researched Larry Hoover. I never researched him, you know what I mean? I'm more, Panthers and all that type of stuff, different guys, different people. I never really researched Larry Hoover,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a touchy subject. It's a touchy subject. But so now in New York, Mikey will tell you this, right? This is the strange thing, Nashawn. Now you got in New York, Bloods and Crips going to war with gangster disciples. Now you got Bloods and Crips going to war with gangster disciples. Well, Bloods and Crips in many instances are united, going to war against disciples. You got Bloods and Crips going to war against other blood sets. All right. You got Bloods and Crips going to war. You got Bloods and Bloods going to war. You got it's so many different levels of it over here that everything is out of control. Nobody has control over nothing anymore. It's just total mayhem. And you just better be you just better get out the way when these kids come spraying the block up. It's just nuts out here right now. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So it's just something to take into consideration. So I'm amazed at how something from California, in this case the Bloods and Crips, has found its way into New York, and how something from Chicago has found its way in probably over 40 states.
You know what? It found its way the same way guns and drugs found their way to LA.
That's so true, man.
The same way them guns and them drugs found their way to LA in the 60s.
What, the government?
Of course.
Yeah. So do y'all think the government won't let him out because they fear that if they let him out, then he can probably redirect the chaos that's going on in our communities, I feel like, or how can I put it? I feel like the government actually wants what's happening in our communities, and they fear a powerful person who can redirect and go against their agenda. You know?
I don't think Larry Hoover is 71 years old, sis. I don't think he's coming out here trying to be the leader of all leaders. I think he just wants to go home, get a fishing rod, go to your nearest lake and fish and look for some trout, look for some snapper, some red snapper. Right? I don't think he wants to come out here and try to organize I don't think he has control over them. Yo,
let me just say this. With him being who he is the greatest gang leader in America right now. If he just renounced it, so he's no longer that. But before he renounced that, he was the greatest gang leader in America. No rat, solid, still with them all this time, never renounced it. So he was the greatest gang leader in America, bro. Tukey, they executed Tukey. As far as founding it from all the way back then to now, he is the greatest gang. Do you think a man with that power or had that type of power, they're going to let back into the streets, into these streets? I think he really got a chance now because he renounced it. I think he really has a chance now for renouncing it and publicly renouncing it.
I think they want to send him to both of y'all.
To ADX?
I think they want to send. No, he's already in ADX. He's been there for the last 30 years. I think they want to send a message to all black men and brown men in America, just like they did to Tukey. Y'all want to be in gangs? Well, this is what we're gonna give y'all. Those of y'all that want to be in gangs.
Let me say something about Tukey's case. In America, right? In the justice system of America, they believe in redemption and they believe in second chances. But once you do not take responsibility, then it's a no-go. We seen dudes in the New York State that was innocent. Said they was innocent for years and years and years and years. Just keep getting hit at the parole board. As soon as they say, yo, I give up, man, I did it. They let them go. Right? That happened with a few elders.
But they ain't Larry Hoover.
It's a small percentage of people in New York State that actually said they were innocent after they did 25, 30 years or whatever, and they let them go home. There is a percentage. I know a couple of guys like that. They might have
been George Jefferson, but they ain't Larry Hoover.
Yo, but nah, let me tell you something. The muscle that Tukey had behind him in America, bro, and the work that he did in prison, because he did a lot of work in prison as well, as far as creating stuff for the community, writing a lot of books, building a lot of support. If Tukey would have took responsibility for those murders, I think Arnold Schwarzenegger wouldn't have killed them.
What you think, sis? What you think? You think him renouncing it gives him a better chance of coming home?
Yeah, I don't know, but I just have a strong opinion against the government. I feel like the government fears anybody that's black who has a powerful voice who can redirect the community. I feel like they'll try to shut them down because they'll go against their agenda.
Oh, he got drug charges? He only has drug charges?
Nah, he was accused of murder too. Nah, Andy Walsh, that's not true, my brother. He was actually accused of murder as well, but it's not. I believe it's only one murder, so it's not 7 murders. It's not 15 they just smoked him, and I think the sentence that they gave him, they were sending a message to him and members of the gang.
Yo, listen, I know, yo, the dude, I think one of the illest criminals in New York, besides maybe Obama, the World Trade Bombers is the dude, Son of Sam, right? And he has only 25 years, and he killed 9 women, 9
But
white women.
that's only because back then the sentencing guidelines were different.
Yo, listen, I know dudes that got more time than him, and they only got 1 murder.
Of course,
85 years, 50 years.
Yeah, that's true. That's
I
true.
know, and he's going to his parole board, and he actually has the opportunity to come home before them. And he has 9 murders. This New York is bad, bro.
It's bad. It's so Nashawn, you know, we have a lot that we obviously would like to discuss with you on so many different levels. I would love for the opportunity for us to be able to come on your platform as well, because you know we definitely are in the business of reciprocal, mutual, beneficial upliftment. You know what I mean? Like this is what
up on your platform. We're gonna turn it up.
We're gonna turn it all the way up, man. You know what I mean? So we welcome the invite. We don't want to hold you up on this Friday, man. We just wanted to pull you up here, sis, and really just tap in with you, man, and just have this vibe with you, man. We appreciate it. Is there anything else that you would like to ask us, or is there anything else that you would like to state for the record before you pull on up out of here? Anybody you want to shout out? Just any final thoughts?
No, I just want to say I appreciate the opportunity, being able to connect with other people, especially Black men. That's different than where I come from. It's refreshing. So I appreciate the opportunity, and I'm definitely down for y'all to come on my platform so we can grow and build with each other. So I appreciate it.
Yo, y'all got any questions for her in the chat before she leaves? Give us some good questions. Word up, bro. Yeah, but it's good. It's good to have you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, please, y'all. If y'all have any questions for the sister, man, this is the sister. Listen, I must remind y'all, man, this sister's on the front lines. All right, she's a young sister. She's dynamic. She's energetic. She's trying to change the conditions in her community for the better, man. So if you got any questions regarding where she dwells at out there, I asked her, man. She's here for a reason, y'all. Any questions? Anything in the chat? Let us know. I'm gonna look that up. I'm gonna look that up, Andy Walsh.
I got a question for her though.
What's up, Mikey?
When you first left, how was that? How was it getting out of the gang? How was that? How did that whole thing come about? What made you leave?
It was more of me not honest. It was more of me not. It wasn't me getting out of the gang. It was more of like I stopped honoring the structure in my neighborhood since it was family orientated. But it was tough because I had older people constantly pulling me in, saying, "This is your family. Don't turn on your family for what you're trying to do." So it was very hard. I got threatened 2 times. People were turning on me and just different things like that. So it was definitely hard, but it was definitely worth it. I tell them all the time, I don't care. If you don't accept me,
how long did it take you when you made up your mind? How long did it take you for you to actually get out?
When I was 24. When I was 24 years old, that's when I completely said I'm done. I don't want to when I was going in my neighborhood, I started mentoring kids, and I was not hanging out with them. I was by myself.
So you started mentoring before you got out of the game?
No, when I got separated from my neighborhood, I was still in the neighborhood, but they was in the middle and the back, and I was in the front. I bought a basketball court, and I was mentoring the kids up there. So the kids would come up there. And
while you were still in the gang, you were mentoring the kids?
No, I wasn't in it. I separated.
Oh, all right.
but I was still in the neighborhood with them. Like they were in the neighborhood, they saw me and stuff like that, but I was completely separated.
So, but what made your break? What made you say I'm separating?
What made me, when I found the church, I met a man named T. He's from Africa. I met him at work one day. He just started like teaching me about the Bible. Told me that I would be the one to make change in my neighborhood, but I need the church. So I went to the church, and I realized at the end of the day that was my answer, and that's when I started to grow. My mind started to change, be renewed, and that's how I'm here today. From Capital City Church of Christ, it's here on 42nd and Post Road. Those people at that church there's something that I never had in my life, which is a firm, strong, unconditional family system. So yeah.
I understand now. I can see where that helped you at. That was good.
Yeah.
That was definitely good for you.
Well, you know, I'm listening to you say that, and the first thing that I have is a lesson for the youth. One is, listen, man. Here are 3 former gang, members, who are no longer a part of these gangs for whatever reason. One is in this case young Nation, who's 27 years old.
6.
And
I ain't there yet.
26 years old. Not yet. I don't want to add that year on there. Hold on, right? And I think the much larger lesson is, listen, man. There's nothing really good about the gang lifestyle. We can probably point out some good things here and there, but I mean, it's ultimately all leading to the same place, which is destruction. So I think a lot of times what we need to grow out of the habit of doing is misleading our people and thinking that it's all right to be in these gangs when in reality it's not. So if you are in a gang, do know this, that being in that gang comes with some serious consequences. It comes with the consequence perhaps of being murdered at an early age, being physically harmed, having to murder or physically harm others.
What's your cash app?
Right?
Put your cash app in the chat so we can.
My name.
It is
Money sign Nation Clay. Yeah.
Money sign Nation. You got it. You got it, Moshe.
Yeah, I'm doing that right now, bro.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, no doubt, sis.
Yeah, but it's good. I mean, it's good. It's good what you're doing. It's good how you change your life, how you got up out of that. Hopefully, you could be a beacon of light for kids in your community, like yourself, that's coming up like you. You know what I'm saying? That's coming up, that's going what you're going through. And try to catch them early. You know what I mean? I'll be talking to the kids now. I'll be in camp. I'll be cheating chess. They got a camp. I'm in camp with these kids like 14, 15. They pretty good though. They pretty good kids for the most part. You got your little one that's like a little extra, but teaching them and talking to them. But like regular stuff that you see when you're dealing with little kids is like, that could be a problem when they grow up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
One thing I seen amongst them before you go, so you could maybe you could implement this in your community and you too, Moshe. Like they come in, I let them in. You know what I mean? I open the spot up, my job. So they come in and they come into camp. And I say good morning to everybody I speak to. They speak to me, but they don't speak to each other. Right? Look, they don't talk to each other. They're not speaking. So it's like they unseen. Right? So when you don't see, that's dangerous because now it's like you don't even exist to me. And then you got some kids, they bullying and they start dissing and ridiculing. So the first time I even see you or even pay you any mind is when it's to denigrate you, to diss you, to disrespect you. You understand?
Yeah.
But as a young kid, so we dealing with 13, 14, and 15-year-olds. So I understand not being seen what that is. So I had to talk to them about that. Like, y'all gotta start saying good morning. Y'all gotta start saying hi to each other. I'm like, this is your community. This is your people. All of the kids where I work at is black. You know what I'm saying? Not saying if it was other races in there that I would say anything different, but they all happen to be black. I'm like, this is your neighborhood. Why would y'all not say anything to each other? Why would y'all not identify like, I see you, you're somebody? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I'm very observant when I'm very from prison. I'm very observant. I don't miss too much. You know what I'm saying? So when I seen around, I seen that, and I asked him. We was outside. It was camp, so we was outside. We was in a park, and we was all sitting in a circle. And I asked y'all. I asked them. I said, when I see y'all in the morning, what happens? They said, you all say good morning because it's something different. People don't really talk to them. So I said, why? I said, and I seen y'all too. Y'all on your phones or y'all walk right by each other like y'all don't exist. Why don't y'all speak to each other? You see what I'm saying? And that can grow later. This is why we do stuff to each other so easily.
I agree. Because I work at a school.
I'm telling you, this is why that's the first stages of manipulation of not recognizing you as a human being.
Yeah,
you understand? You
Yeah.
don't exist to me until it's time to degrade you, to fight you, to dish you, to take something from you. So you're nothing. You don't exist. So it's easy for me to hurt you or harm you because you mean nothing to me. So this is why. So at these early stage, for me to see that, you got to remember, me and Moshe just stepped out. We just came out from doing 20-something years. So we just getting back with seeing kids and seeing the community, and we seeing this as adults going in as children, as children and coming out as adults, mature adults, working around children, helping our communities, giving out jobs. So now our whole perspective is totally different now. So we see the things that make people do the things that they're going to do in a future life. So it's our job to catch this stuff early. Like, hold up. Make sure you say hi. What's her name? What's your names? We make sure y'all meet each other so y'all know each other. This is your community. These are your peoples. Say hi, speak. You know what I'm saying? Show love. But yeah, man, we gotta start. We gotta start somewhere.
Sean, what were you gonna say? You were gonna say you work in a school and what?
Yeah, I said I work in a school and I see a lot of that, especially like when a young boy that I work with, he's like 8. He's already in that street form mentality. Like I can sit down, like y'all can sit down. He would tell y'all about the streets. So I agree. I'm trying to break him. I'm trying to create different systems in my school I'm at right now that target different kids, to target their form of thinking, just different things like that. So I agree with that.
Yeah, just little things. They say God is in the details. So I like to pay attention to the details.
Yeah, I agree.
But that's like dangerous. That's very dangerous, though. It can seem like it's small when you're young and you don't really know what it is, but it's dangerous.
I agree. I do. I was just speaking about that in one of my videos. How, like, for example, when kids get praised for cussing, people kids get praised for cussing. Now they get older and act out in school, and they be like, "Where I go wrong?" And it's like when they was a kid and you didn't break that, you praised it. Yeah, so I agree.
Well, listen, thank you again for pulling up to us.
We appreciate it.
We really appreciate it. We're going to continue to support you in whatever endeavors you need. And if you need us to pull up out there where you're at in Indianapolis, if you need us to, come talk to the peoples out there, we'll accept that invite as well. We don't mind coming to your hood or hood.
Church, wherever.
A hood. Yeah, we'll that's what we do. We pull up, we locked in, we're there, right?
I was just about to say something about that. I was just about to say, like, y'all would be a great example to come to my school.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's talk. We don't have a problem trying to, implement something of that nature. That's definitely something we can talk about, because, I mean, the youth, I already know, no matter where they are, the youth need to be talked to, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, if we can have an impact in the lives of individuals, no matter where they reside at, then yeah, we're all open for that. No question about that.
All right. I appreciate this opportunity, though. I appreciate it.
No question. We appreciate it as well. Listen, man, y'all already know what it is, man. We locked in, man. We're here with the sister Sean Clay. Make sure you go to her page on YouTube. Are there any books or anything that you have? I mean, I know you mentioned something about books that you wrote. Are there any things you want me to put in the chat right now, sis?
I mean, I just have one book that's out, but I'm working on my second one.
What's the first book that you have out?
It's called Shoes Ona, ONA Wire.
What?
Shoes on a wire.
Shoes on the wire?
Yeah.
I like that right there. Yeah. I think I saw that too. Yeah, I like that.
Appreciate
And it
it.
makes me think about like when you throw shoes up on the wire, like that, something like that.
What that means?
Yeah, because I did it. I did it when I started to fight for my community. It was just I threw shoes on the wire with a bear attached.
Is it fiction or nonfiction?
It's nonfiction.
Okay. So I'm gonna just put shoes on the wire by Nashawn Clay. Please, what platform is it on where people can purchase it at?
It's on Amazon.
Copy. Make sure y'all support the sister. She has a book titled Shoes on the Wire. You can get it on Amazon. Please go to Amazon.com. You already know where it's at. You know, it's not some far off place you can't reach. Head, it's in the chat. It's called Shoes on the Wire.
Put the
Shoes.
ONA together.
Huh?
The ONA goes together.
All right, hold on. Let me
All
put it
right.
again. Let
Yeah,
me
I
make sure
slanged
I'm
it a
giving
little
it the
bit.
right way. The ONA. And then this is the correct spelling, y'all. Haunt me. All right, so this is the correct spelling right here, right, sis?
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Right here?
Yeah, that's correct.
All right, so again, Shoes on the Wire. Ona is ONA. That's one word. Shoes on the Wire by the sister Nashawn Clay. Make sure y'all hit that. Go to Amazon. Go get that book. Please, man, support the sister. Again, go to her YouTube channel. Subscribe, like, share. The sister, I'm telling y'all, the sister is dope. And I mean, yo, June, shout it out, my brother. How you doing, my brother? I'm not even gonna lie. The sister is all the way dope. You please go to her channel. She's doing a lot of good stuff, and her content is clean. She asks some very critical questions about simple things we overlook on a daily basis in our communities that we're just simply not addressing. So again, man, thank y'all for pulling up, man. We appreciate everybody that pulled up in the chat. Dial Tone, we see you. Old Head Deuce, June, my brother. I see some people, man, from the 317 pulled up. Dream Lean, everybody, man, that pulled up, man. We appreciate it, man. Naturally as is, Born Kimbro. Y'all already know what it is, man. For my host, Mikey B, KK. For our special guest that pulled up, Nashawn Clay, we wish you nothing but the best, sis. You already know we locked in. Y'all have a good night out there, man. Please take it easy, y'all.
Nice meeting you, Nashawn.
Nice meeting you too.
Peace,
Y'all already
sis.
know we locked in.
All right.
Good night.